Hello and welcome. My name is Bridget Ebert. I am the TA for History of Fashion and Costume Design, and I am beyond excited, thrilled, stoked, nervous, super thrilled to present to you my little lecture, you could say, on fashion theory, specifically on Roland Barthes and semiotics and queer theory in fashion. This is very introductory, kind of scrapes the surface of both things. But if you have any more questions, ideas, comments, if I got anything a little bit wrong, like please let me know. I really love to learn. I'm always willing to talk. I also am really excited to meet all of you in this course. I think this is really lovely. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, a fun fact, a cool joke, a hot take, like just talk to me. I love talking to people. So, and getting to know them. I think humans are very unique and complex and lovely. So anyway, to wrap it all together, introducing fashion theory, Roland Barthes and semiotics, and queer theory and fashion. All right, to get started, I really wanted to introduce Roland Barthes, the main man we're talking about this fine evening. Roland Barthes was born 1915, passed away in 1980. He was a French literary critic, essayist, and theorist. His work is concerned with semiotics, the study of signs and symbols and their use and interpretation. Semiotics was founded by Ferdinand de Saussure in 1878, and a sign, is what he's mainly talking about, is composed of a signifier and a signified. So I have this example of a dog, and just looking down bottom right, I have it pointed out, and the signifier is the word dog, and the signified is the conjured image of a dog in one's mind. So for instance, say I walked into a room, 50 people are there. I said, hey, everybody, think of a dog. Everyone's going to be thinking of a different dog in their minds. They're going to be conjuring different images of different dogs because I did give like a descriptor of what dog to think of, for instance. So it's really interesting to think of how the signified and the signifier play with one another relationship-wise. So to further that, Roland Barthes actually wrote these two books here, The Fashion System and The Language of Fashion. The Fashion System was originally published in 1967, and both books study the fashion industry with a critical eye, analyzing how fashion must always change in a capitalist society to make profit, and must also stay the same and cycle to continue to sell fashions and new fashions, even though everything's upcycling. Barthes also identifies connotation and denotation. And as a refresher, denotation is the textbook definition of a term, while connotation is the intellectual and emotional interpretation of a term. So one example that I'm bringing in is mom jeans. So the signified would be the actual material thing, right? The jeans themselves. The signifier is the meaning making. So the phrase mom jeans is a signifier and mediates our understanding of the object through the single word and phrase. Mom jeans also functions as a denotative name for high-waisted, relaxed, baggier fit, which is what it is. That's just the fact. And it also functions as a connotative sign, which is like the emotional interpretation of it, cultural interpretation as well, referring to the whole host of ideas about mothers and what they should be wearing and its location in the fashion system. Oops. Okay, there we go. This is kind of a no-brainer, but had to just throw it in there. But also semiotic shapes our perception of colors in fashion. So for instance, the color black can be interpreted as both sophisticated, formal, elegant, while in other cases it can be interpreted as rebellious or worn in a state of mourning. To bounce off of that, I do have an example of myth, and myth is kind of something that breaks off of semiotics. It like intertwines in this very funky way. And Roland Barthes talks about how myth as language and language as myth. So Barthes identifies that myth is the second order semiological system, and myth tends to naturalize something that is cultural. So the example he gives is Zeus, who's a Greek god, is associated with lightning. He has his lightning bolt, and lightning is natural in nature, right? It's a very natural thing. So when people see lightning strike, they think automatically of Zeus. So there's like the signifier of lightning is the Zeus is the signified, right? So I have this little chart that I drew out, and in lowercase letters is language, and in uppercase letters is myth, and they're like intertwined, smashed together. And I have this example of roses and Valentine's Day. So the signifier is the bouquet of roses. The signified is passion and love. And the sign altogether is like passionified roses given to someone who you love, right? And the myth to like corner it all together is Valentine's Day. And the myth, quote unquote, is if your partner doesn't buy you roses for Valentine's Day, that means they don't love you. That's a myth that's embedded into our society and culture. Myth has, in fact, a double function. It points out and it notifies. It makes us understand something and it imposes it on us. So I have this more, I guess you could say, like fashion-y example. So to also bring in the myth is language, language is myth, there's this myth that diamonds are valuable and rare. And as you can see, like above me, there's these advertisements that are really, like a capitalist regime really forcing you to buy these things, right? It's that myth, like you have to buy. It should be a 2-month salary. And it's a cultural implication that's built into our society. The myth is buying a diamond ring for your partner implies you really love them, yet this only furthers the capitalist regime to sell more and make profit. The signifier is the diamond ring, and the signified is the implied value and rarity, which the sign and the myth is that if you don't receive a diamond ring, you are truly or if you receive a diamond ring, you are truly loved by your partner and inherit value and class in fashion and style. So to jump into queer theory real quick, real fast. So the first question is like, what is queer theory? And this is a quote I copy pasted from the internet. It is the study and theorization of gender and sexuality that exist outside of heterosexuality, challenging the notion that heterosexual desire and gendered stereotypes are normal. So queer theory is really like breaking out of these conventional and normal and boxed gendered identities and questioning it also. So androgynous fashion has really, I would say, skyrocketed in the past couple decades. And this clothing is used to challenge the binary norms of gender and sexuality. It's breaking free from these stereotypes and embracing the full spectrum of identities. And a lot of queer fashion uses color, movement, texture. It's very embodying and like the word camp, it's like it's so exaggerated and out there sometimes. To tie in, queer theory challenges designers to make their designs not targeted towards a specific gender or group of people. In addition, a radical shift towards expanding materials and styles. And to slide me over here, I do have 5 recommended readings that I very highly recommend. The one I really highly recommend is Judith Butler's Performative Acts and Gender Constitution, which was written in 1988, which I believe is an essay written way before its time. Very well written. Judith Butler is an amazing author, theorist, philosopher, activist, really great person. The other ones I recommend is Kathy Grigger's Lesbian Bodies in the Age of Post-Mechanical Reproduction, written in 1992. Jennifer Doyle's Queer Wallpaper, written in 2006. Paul Wood's Commodity, and I do not know the exact date of this one. I got it scanned from a textbook, and it did not have the title of the text on there. And then Dick Habdage, I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize. Subculture and the Meaning of Style from 1979. Perfect. Oh, and if interested, I can absolutely send copies of those readings over, screenshots, whatever you like. So to jump back in, Judith Butler's Performative Acts and Gender Constitution, written in 1988. I have a photograph of Judith Butler right here. And then I have a quote over here taken from the book on page 401, and I'll read it to ya. Gender is not passively scripted on the body, and neither is it determined by nature, language, the symbolic, or the overwhelming history of patriarchy. Gender is what is put on invariably, under constraint, daily, with anxiety and pleasure. But if this continuous act is mistaken for natural or linguistic given, power is relinquished to expand the cultural field bodily through subversive performances of various kinds. So in other words, gender as identified by Judith Butler is a social construct, and our sex, either male or female, is biological. Repetitive acts of performing a gender as exterior expression. So queer theory in fashion, to really get a little nitty-gritty, gendered performativity in fashion can mutate over time. So for instance, the color pink was initially viewed as too strong for women. Wearing heels emerged from King Louis XVI, which were shoe enhancers to make his legs look good. And I have this little image of him here strutting his stuff. Then over time it flipped, and the color pink and high heels are now associated with women and femininity. The capitalist market of fashion feeds off of social constructs, investments of keeping gender roles and identities separate. And my last slide is queer artists to consider when studying queer theory in fashion. So on the left here, I have one of my favorite artists. Their name is Lawrence Philomene. They are a queer artist, and they photograph non-binary identities. Philomene uses a lot of color and movement and makeup to emphasize individuality and queer expression. I highly recommend checking out their website. I believe it's just lawrencephilomene.com or .art, something along those lines. Very, very wonderful, highly conceptual work. And then on the right, we have Deborah Bright, and this is the Dream Girl series from 1989 to 90. They are a lesbian identifying artist, and they embed themselves into film stills to interrupt and disrupt the heteronormative narrative. They use a more masculine clothing to perform as the cool guy or gentleman, mimicking a masculine identity. And Deborah Bright explores this femme versus masculine identity through fashion, and uses fashions of those time periods, like the 1940s and 50s, recreating these movie stills. And I believe that's all I have for you, which is very exciting. Oh, hello. I don't know if it stopped recording. I really hope not. No. Okay, great. Yes. But yeah, that was my little PowerPoint. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything. I would really love feedback. So thank you so much for your time and your energy and for being in this class. Like, it really means a lot to both Alyssa and I. So thank you so much. We appreciate you, and hopefully I will see you soon. Goodbye for now.